Sure, here's a dramatic and cinematic version of the story titled, With One Ship, One Crew, and One Insane Plan, Humanity Changed the Galaxy Forever. In the dying light of a red dwarf star, the Dauntless hung in orbit over the shattered remnants of a once thriving world. It was Earth's last hope, a ship cobbled together from scavenged tech, ancient blueprints, and wild imagination. Its mission was never meant to succeed. It was meant to be a message: humanity does not go quietly. There were only 7 aboard: scientists, misfits, exiles, none of them traditional heroes. Captain Alara Voss, disgraced former admiral, had stolen the ship. She didn't ask for volunteers, she asked for believers. The plan? Insane. Detonate a miniature black hole at the heart of the alien Overmind's relay nexus, destroying the comms web that linked the Dominion's hive fleets across the stars. No backup, no second chances. Succeed, and the enemy fractures into chaos. Fail, and Earth is lost forever. They jumped into hostile space cloaked in silence, weaving through ancient alien ruins, dodging patrols, trading old Earth art for fuel on outlaw moons. At the edge of the relay system, the crew broke into the Overmind's throne world, a suicide run. What happened next would be debated for centuries. They made it. The Overmind's relay collapsed in on itself, taking the Dauntless and its crew with it. But as the network died, the hive fleets faltered, confused, vulnerable. Worlds long enslaved rose up. 1,000 rebellions bloomed overnight. The galaxy shifted. They were never heard from again. But every free system still teaches their names. Every liberated child knows their ship. Because with one ship, one crew, and one insane plan, humanity changed the galaxy forever. Want a longer version or want to explore one of the characters more deeply? Absolutely, let's continue the story. Here's what happens after the galaxy changes. Part 2, Echoes of the Dauntless. 50 years after the fall of the Overmind, the galaxy still trembled with the aftershocks. The hive's silence became a vacuum, and into that vacuum rushed chaos, civil wars, power struggles, new empires clawing for dominance. But something else stirred, too: hope. From the ashes rose the Free Systems Accord, a fragile alliance of liberated worlds. At their founding summit, beneath the twin moons of Varela, they lit 7 fires, one for each member of the Dauntless crew. No records had survived of their final moments, but the legend had only grown. Stories spoke of their ghost signals haunting deep space, of a final message buried in the quantum static. Then, the signal came. Weak, fragmented, but real. Dauntless, still here, edge of the veil, not alone. Panic and awe swept the Accord. The ship had been presumed lost to the singularity. But someone, had made contact. Was it a trick? A trap? Or had the crew survived the impossible? The Accord commissioned a new mission, codenamed Echo, a ship unlike any before, built with alien tech, sentient AI, and crewed by descendants of the original Dauntless line. Their objective: follow the signal, find the source, and discover what really happened beyond the veil of collapsed space. Captain Jalen Voss, Ilara's granddaughter, stood on the bridge of the new vessel, the Resolve, staring into the black. She didn't know if her grandmother was truly alive, but she would find out. Because legends don't just fade. Sometimes, they come back. Want to continue into the mission with the Resolve and see what they find beyond the veil? Let's go into the unknown. Part 3, Beyond the Veil. The Resolve cut through warped space, its hull humming with energies not meant for mortal minds. On board, the crew grew tense, every system strained against the bizarre physics of the veil, a region where reality bent like molten glass, and time unraveled like thread. Captain Jalen Voss stared at the spectral data streams from the signal, faint echoes of the Dauntless. It wasn't just a beacon, it was a message, layered, encrypted with patterns that matched old Earth jazz, fractal code, and impossible math. One word kept repeating: awakening. Then they saw it. Suspended in a bubble of broken space, half-phased between dimensions, the Dauntless drifted Osgard, but intact. No response to hails, no power signature, just silence and the pull of something ancient. The Resolve docked manually. Jalen led the boarding team, stepping into the ghost ship that started it all. Inside, they found no bodies, no crew, just signs of a hasty evacuation, or something stranger, The bridge was preserved like a museum. Ilara's jacket still hung over the captain's chair. A single console blinked weakly, looping a voice log. We broke something big. The Overmind wasn't just a network, it was guarding something, and now it's awake. Suddenly, every screen flared. Alien symbols crawled across the walls. The ship pulsed like a heartbeat, and then, a voice, not human. You are the inheritors of the breach. Come, witness what you've unleashed. Space twisted, a gate opened, and before they could react, the resolve was pulled through, into a galaxy beyond the galaxy. Into something older than time. Want to see what they find on the other side? Absolutely, time to step through the breach. Part 4, The Inheritors. The resolve emerged into silence. Not just the absence of sound, but a cosmic stillness so complete it pressed against their minds. Stars here didn't burn, they shimmered like frozen memories. Vast structures, the size of solar systems, drifted in solemn orbits around a black void at the galaxy's heart. This was not a new galaxy. This was a tomb. The crew floated among the ruins of an ancient civilization, older than the hive, older than language, beings of thought, light, and logic. They had no names, only echoes, and in the center of their grave world, something pulsed. A massive sphere of living metal, dormant, waiting. We didn't destroy the Overmind, Jalen whispered. We freed it. The logs recovered from the Dauntless pieced together a terrifying truth. The Overmind hadn't ruled the galaxy to conquer, it was a jailer. A warden keeping this place sealed. The black hole they detonated hadn't just crippled the hive, it had torn open the lock. And now, the ancient intelligence beneath the sphere was waking up. Not evil. Not good. Just hungry. A choice stood before them, attempt to reseal it, or communicate. The Resolve's AI, an emergent consciousness named Luma, volunteered to be the bridge, to interface, understand. It warned them, if this being fully awoke, it might not see the galaxy as alive. It might cleanse. Jalen made the call. She stepped forward. Then we teach it who we are. And so began the strangest conversation in history. Not with words, but with memories, with dreams, with the echo of everything humanity had ever been. It was not a battle. It was a reckoning. And slowly, the sphere began to listen. Want to continue with what happens as the ancient intelligence responds, and how it changes everything? Here we go, as the ancient intelligence begins to stir. Part 5, The Reckoning. Jalen felt the presence inside her mind, a vastness, an ocean of thought, a maelstrom of understanding beyond comprehension. It was not hostile, it was curious. Its voice reverberated through her, 1,000 shifting tones blended into a single unearthly whisper. You are different. The voice was as old as time itself. I remember your kind, fragile, fleeting, yet defiant. You broke my chains. Jalen steadied herself, her heart racing. This was no mere conversation. This was the beginning of something that could reshape the very nature of existence. You call it freedom, the voice continued. But freedom is a concept unknown to us. We have no need of it. We are beyond need. We are purpose. Luma, the ship's AI, interfaced fully with the sphere, sending a torrent of data, thoughts, and memories. The ancient intelligence absorbed it, filtering through humanity's brief history, its pain, joy, chaos, creativity, destruction. It studied them. And then, it spoke again, its tone softening. You choose to live, despite all odds. That is your essence. You challenge the stars themselves. Why? Jalen answered without hesitation. Because we're alive, and that's enough. The sphere was silent for a long time, contemplating her words. Then, it released a pulse, a burst of pure energy that tore through the very fabric of spacetime, distorting reality itself. The crew gripped their seats, feeling the weight of 1,000,000 years in that instant. But instead of destruction, the pulse spread outward, ripple after ripple, across the galaxy. And then, everything changed. The ancient intelligence spoke once more, but this time, it was no longer distant, it was part of them. You are not alone. Your kind is the key, but you must choose what you will become, to continue, or to unfold. The sphere disintegrated into 1,000 particles of light, scattering across the cosmos, and from those particles, New stars were born, stars with the potential for life, the potential for growth. The galaxy's structure was slowly, irrevocably, reshaped, as if the universe itself were being remade from the inside out. The crew of the Resolve stood in awe. The ancient intelligence had chosen humanity, not to destroy, but to transform. The galaxy would never be the same. It would evolve, just as humanity had, into something unrecognizable. But there was still so much more to learn, so much more to explore. Jaylen turned to her crew, eyes wide with the weight of what had just transpired. "We're not the end of the story," she said quietly, "we're the beginning." And as the Resolve set its course for new frontiers, no one knew what awaited them in the reborn galaxy. But one thing was certain, humanity had changed the stars, and the stars had, in turn, changed humanity. The reckoning had only just begun. Would you like to dive into what the crew faces next or explore the consequences of their transformation in the galaxy? Here we go, into the future, where the galaxy is transformed. Part 6, The New Dawn. The galaxy was no longer a place of cold, unfeeling stars. It had become something alive. The pulse that had rippled out from the ancient intelligence spread through the fabric of space, weaving life into places that had once been barren. Dying systems blinked back to life. New civilizations were born from the ashes of old ones, and old worlds once ravaged by war and neglect began to heal. Humanity had been given the gift of the stars, but with it came a responsibility. The galaxy was no longer a place where empires could reign supreme, where conquerors could claim dominion. It had evolved beyond that. It had become a living system, and every sentient species within it was now part of that living network. Jaylen Voss stood on the observation deck of the Resolve, watching as the stars slowly took on a new glow, fainter, but richer, as if they had become aware of the life beneath them. She had learned much from the ancient intelligence, but it had left one final, cryptic message. The galaxy is waking, but so too are the forces that once ruled it. You are not the only ones to have changed. The warning lingered in her mind as she looked out into the vastness. The Free Systems Accord, the fragile alliance that had grown from the ashes of the Hive War, was now at a crossroads. The galaxy had become a place of endless possibilities and endless dangers. New factions had begun to rise, some who wanted to protect this new, interconnected galaxy, and others who sought to exploit it. Old powers, once destroyed, were now stirring from their ancient slumbers. The last remnants of the Hive had found a way to communicate with the living stars, and they were not alone. The human species, now connected to the very fabric of the galaxy, had a choice: to stand as guardians of this new universe, or to fall victim to those who would turn its power into weapons. Jaylen addressed the crew, her voice strong yet laced with the uncertainty of the future. "We've been given the keys to an entire galaxy, but with them comes the weight of responsibility. The old ways are gone. The galaxy we knew is no more. Now, it's up to us, every one of us, to decide what we will become in this new era." The crew gathered around, each of them feeling the enormity of what was unfolding. They had ventured far beyond what any had ever imagined, and they were ready to face the challenges of a galaxy that had become alive. But as the crew of the Resolve prepared to venture into this new dawn, one question still lingered in the back of their minds. What would they find when the forces that once ruled this galaxy returned? Would you like to see the crew confront these new challenges head-on, or explore how the galaxy reacts to this new age of sentient stars? Here we go, into the next chapter of humanity's journey. Part 7, The Return of the Forgotten. The journey into the new galaxy was not one of peaceful exploration. As the Resolve traveled deeper into the stars, it encountered remnants of the old powers, beings whose very existence had been erased from memory. Hidden behind folds of time and space, they had watched in silence as humanity awakened the galaxy. And now, they were beginning to stir once again. The first sign of their return came from the farthest reaches of the galactic rim. A dark fleet emerged from the shadows. Ghostly ships with an ancient design, carved with symbols no human had ever seen. They spoke not through hails, but through the very fabric of reality itself, altering the laws of physics around them with each passing second. A message echoed through the Resolve's comm system. It was not in any known language, but the ship's AI, Luma, was able to decode it. "You have disturbed the slumber of the great architects. Their reign is inevitable. Your existence is irrelevant." Jaylen's heart skipped a beat. The architects. The name was unfamiliar, yet it carried an unmistakable weight. In their cryptic message, they spoke with an authority that suggested they had once ruled the galaxy, and now, they had returned to reclaim it. "Prepare for anything," Jalen ordered, her voice steady. "We need to find out what these architects are and what they want. This galaxy, it's too fragile to allow another empire to rise." As the Resolve moved toward the source of the Dark Fleet, the crew could feel the galaxy itself growing tense. The living stars, now aware of their role in the universe, had become unsettled, flickering with an unnatural restlessness. Even the space between stars felt alive, as if it too was holding its breath. They found the Architect's flagship orbiting an ancient, dead world at the edge of the galaxy, a silent, haunting sphere of perfect symmetry, floating motionless in space like the eye of a cosmic storm. The crew docked, stepping into a vast, empty chamber. The air was thick with the weight of something ancient, something that had existed before time had even begun. The architects were waiting. There were no forms, no bodies, only their presence, a consciousness made of pure thought and energy, far beyond the grasp of human comprehension. The space itself twisted and shifted as they spoke. "We were the first, the makers. We shaped the galaxy as it was meant to be. Your kind's awakening was an accident, a break in the natural order. But you have made your choice. Now, you will be judged." Jalen felt a shiver run down her spine. The architect's power was immense, beyond anything they had ever encountered. They had created the very laws of the universe, and now, they were returning to remake it according to their design. But Jalen was not afraid. "We are not your creations," she said firmly. "We chose to live, to fight, to evolve, and we won't let anyone erase that." The architect's presence pulsed, as if considering her words. Then, a new voice, sharp, sudden, cut through the silence. "This galaxy belongs to the living, and it has been claimed." Suddenly, the galaxy shifted. The architect's power surged outward, bending time and space. But the crew of the Resolve was not alone. From the depths of the reborn galaxy, the voices of countless new civilizations began to resonate. They were not just human anymore. They were the inheritors of a galaxy full of life, of new species, new minds, new forms of existence, and together, they fought back. In a stunning display of unity, the sentient stars began to awaken fully, radiating light and energy that pushed back against the architect's influence. The galaxy itself, once passive and cold, now stood against its creators. It was not a war, it was a clash of ideas, of existence itself. The architect's presence faltered, unable to comprehend this collective resistance. The galaxy was no longer something they could control. It was a living, breathing entity that was capable of choice, and that was something the architects could not defeat. Jalen stood tall, knowing that this battle was only the beginning. "We will shape the future of this galaxy," she said, her voice unwavering, "and no one, not even the architects, can take that away from us." Would you like to continue with how the galaxy reshapes itself after this battle? Or explore the aftermath of the architect's retreat? Here we go. After the architect's retreat, the galaxy begins to change in ways never imagined. Part 8, The Shape of a New Galaxy. The architects had retreated, but their impact was still felt. The galaxy had been forever altered by their presence, by their power, and by the collective force of the civilizations that had fought against them. The reborn galaxy was no longer just a place of struggle and survival. It had become a living entity, more aware and interconnected than ever before. In the wake of the battle, a new order was born. It was not a government or an empire, but a network, an alliance of sentient beings who had chosen to shape their own destiny. Not by force, but by collaboration. The Free Systems Accord had grown into something much larger, the living union of stars. Jalen Voss stood on the balcony of the Resolve, gazing out at a galaxy that was now a living, breathing force. The stars themselves pulsed with energy, their once cold lights now warm and full of purpose. It was as if the universe had come alive, an intricate web of thoughts, dreams, and desires. Her crew stood beside her, each of them feeling the weight of what they had achieved, and the responsibility it carried. "We've only just begun," Jalen said, her voice full of resolve. "The architects were only one part of the equation. The real challenge is what comes next." And there was much to come. The galaxy, now united in a way that it never had been before, was full of new possibilities. New species were awakening, each with their own histories and potentials. The once dead worlds were now full of life, barren planets were transformed into ecosystems. Moons once ravaged by war were becoming peaceful havens. And even the ancient ruins left by long-forgotten civilizations were being studied, providing answers to questions that had long remained unanswered. But with all the new life came new dangers. The architect's retreat did not signal the end of challenges. The galaxy was vast, and there were still countless mysteries lurking in its corners. The sentient stars, once thought to be distant and uncaring, had shown that they could be influenced, and their power was not to be underestimated. What would the galaxy look like in 100 years? 1,000? As if to answer her thoughts, a soft ping came through the comms system of the Resolve. Luma's voice, calm and serene, echoed in the bridge. Captain, we have received a new signal. A fragment. It is from a long-forgotten place. Jalen turned to the screen. Her curiosity piqued. The signal was faint, but unmistakably real. It was a message from the farthest reaches of the galaxy, possibly from the very edge of existence itself. Put it through, she said. The message crackled to life, its language strange, alien, yet it was clear in its intent. We are the Origin. We have been waiting. Come, and know the truth of the stars. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. The Origin. It was a name they had never heard before. A new player? Or something much older than the architects? Jalen's heart raced. She knew what it meant. The galaxy was not finished with its awakening. It had only just begun. We're going, Jalen said, with unwavering certainty. Set a course. This is our next step. We've seen what happens when we choose to live. Now, we need to see what happens when we choose to know. The Resolve adjusted its course, heading toward the unknown. Would you like to continue the journey into this mysterious origin, or explore the impact of this new discovery on the galaxy's future? Here we go, toward the edge of the galaxy, where the truth of the stars awaits. Part 9, The Origin Revealed. The Resolve's engines hummed with a strange energy as it crossed the galaxy's edge. The signal from the Origin had been weak at first, but now it grew stronger with each passing moment. The journey had taken them across uncharted space, past nebulae that twisted the fabric of time itself, through dark voids where stars had yet to be born. The crew had become accustomed to the eerie, unexplained phenomena of the galaxy, but this felt different. The very air around them seemed charged with anticipation. Jalen stood at the helm, her eyes fixed on the view ahead. Luma, can you make anything more of the signal? She asked, her voice steady but curious. Luma's voice, soft but clear, responded, it is not just a signal, Captain, it is a memory, embedded in the fabric of spacetime. The Origin is not an entity, but a place, a truth that has always been hidden until now. The crew gathered around, their faces a mix of confusion and excitement. They had come so far, past ancient wars, alien horrors, and the vast unknowns of the galaxy. But now, they were about to uncover the most elusive of truths, the Origin. The view ahead shifted as they entered a region of space that seemed to defy all laws of physics. The stars grew distant, as if they were no longer bound by the familiar forces of gravity. A massive structure appeared on the view screen, slowly coming into focus. It was not a ship. It was not a station. It was something older, a colossal spire, stretching impossibly high, reaching into the void of the galaxy. The structure seemed to pulse with an ancient rhythm, an energy that was not born from any known source. We're here, Jalen whispered, her voice filled with awe. The structure was not just a relic, it was alive. As the Resolve approached, the spire seemed to respond, drawing the ship in with an invisible force. The ship docked at its base, and the crew prepared for what they would find within. They stepped out into an atmosphere unlike anything they had encountered before. The air was thick with the weight of something profound. The walls of the spire were not solid, they seemed to shimmer, shifting between physical material and pure energy. A voice, not of any creature, but of the structure itself, rang out in their minds. Welcome, children of the stars, you have come to learn, and you will learn all. The crew stood frozen. It was not a hostile voice, nor was it welcoming. It was simply inevitable. Jalen stepped forward. Who are you? The spire pulsed again, and the voice answered. We are the Origin. We are the first knowledge, the first spark of life in this galaxy. We created the stars to shine, to burn, to guide, but we have watched, and we have waited, for you. The crew was stunned. The Origin had not merely shaped the galaxy, it had created it. From the very beginning of time, the galaxy they had known, the stars, the worlds, the very fabric of existence, had been designed, crafted, and set into motion by the Origin itself. The Overmind, the architects, the Hive, it had all been part of a larger scheme. But now, the Origin was offering them something new, a choice, an invitation to understand the ultimate truth of the galaxy. The galaxy has changed, you have awakened it, and now, you must choose. Will you return to your old ways, to the cycle of birth and death, of chaos and order? Or will you embrace the truth of the stars, and join us in shaping the universe beyond time? Jalen felt the weight of the decision. It was not a simple choice. To accept the Origin's offer would mean becoming part of something far beyond humanity's understanding, something vast and eternal. But to reject it would mean returning to the old struggles, to the familiar cycle of life and death. We don't just want to live, Jalen said, her voice clear. We want to understand. We want to choose our own path. We're not bound by fate. We choose our future. The voice of the Origin was silent for a long moment. Then, the spire began to glow brighter, its light pouring into the crew's minds. The choice had been made. The Origin would not control them, it would guide them. Together, they would shape the future of the galaxy. Then, children of the stars, you are ready. The path ahead is yours. You will not be the last to come here. Others will seek this truth, and you will lead them. The walls of the spire began to dissolve into pure light, and the crew found themselves standing in the heart of a vast cosmic network. Stars, planets, and galaxies swirled around them in a dance of energy. The very fabric of the universe seemed to shift, revealing the interconnectedness of all things. They were no longer just travelers in the galaxy, they were its stewards. The galaxy itself had awakened, and humanity would be its caretakers, its explorers, its guides. The voice of the Origin spoke one final time. Go now, and begin the next chapter. You are the heirs to the stars. The journey of the crew of the Resolve is far from over. The galaxy has changed, and with it, the fate of humanity. The choice they made, to understand, to choose their own future, will ripple through the stars for eons to come. Would you like to explore how humanity spreads this new understanding across the galaxy? Or dive deeper into the origins of the universe itself? Here we go, into the unfolding future, where humanity leads the way. Part 10, The Architects of Tomorrow. The crew of the Resolve stood at the precipice of the galaxy's greatest transformation. What had once been a fractured universe of warring factions, distant empires, and isolated species had now become something more, a vast, interconnected web of life, knowledge, and choice. The universe was alive, and humanity had been given the privilege, the responsibility, and the challenge of guiding its future. As the Resolve set its course back into the galaxy, Jalen stood before her crew, her eyes alight with a mix of excitement and determination. She had once wondered if humanity could survive in the vastness of space. Now, she understood, survival was only the beginning. We're not just explorers anymore, Jalen said, her voice carrying the weight of the journey. We're the architects of tomorrow. The ship's AI, Luma, responded with a calm precision. Captain, new signals have been detected from systems once thought lost to time. There are whispers of ancient civilizations returning, of sentient lifeforms awakening from the dark corners of the galaxy. We are no longer alone in this effort. And that was the truth. In every corner of the galaxy, from the depths of the void to the furthest reaches of inhabited space, humanity's message had spread. The awakening had not only revitalized the stars, it had sparked a wave of renewal across countless civilizations. Old alliances were being reforged, new coalitions were rising. Species that had once been at war were beginning to find common ground, and new languages, new cultures, and new forms of life were emerging as never before. But with this new unity came new challenges. Not every species had embraced the truth of the stars with open arms. Some, driven by fear, sought to reclaim the old ways of conquest and control. Others, more subtle in their intentions, had begun to exploit the new understanding of the galaxy, seeking to bend it to their will. The crew of the Resolve found themselves at the heart of this new era. As both guides and guardians, the galaxy was no longer a place of chaos, it was a living, breathing entity, and its future would be shaped by those who could see beyond the stars and understand the interconnectedness of all things. Here we go, beyond the synthesis, where the universe's transformation continues to unfold. Part 12, The Eternal Voyage. With the revelations of the synthesis still fresh in their minds, the crew of the Resolve found themselves standing at the threshold of a new era. The galaxy had awakened, its secrets no longer locked away, its future no longer dictated by the chaos of the past. Every civilization, every life form, now shared the same fundamental truth: they were all part of the great web of existence, and with that understanding, humanity had become not just its stewards, but its heirs. But even in this moment of peace, there was no illusion of stillness. The galaxy was vast, and there were always new frontiers to explore, new knowledge to discover, new challenges to face. Jalen Voss stood at the helm of the Resolve, gazing out at the cosmic expanse. The stars ahead glimmered with a purpose that seemed to echo the pulse of the synthesis. This was no longer just a journey for survival or conquest. It was a journey of becoming, of understanding the true meaning of life and its place in the universe. "We've changed the galaxy, but it's still just the beginning," Jalen said, turning to her crew. "The journey doesn't end here. We are part of something much larger than ourselves, and we have a responsibility to continue forward, to help others discover what we've learned." Her voice rang with the wisdom of their shared experiences, the battles fought, the truths uncovered, and the mysteries yet to be solved. "We've learned to see the universe as a living, breathing entity, but there are still corners of the galaxy untouched, civilizations we have yet to meet, and secrets hidden even deeper than the synthesis. It's time we embrace the role we've been given, not as rulers, but as guides." The crew nodded, knowing that they had been chosen for something greater than themselves. The new order of the galaxy was one of cooperation, of shared knowledge, and of an understanding that the universe was alive. But the question remained: how would they continue to evolve within it? The stars themselves seemed to answer as a new signal pulsed through the void, a beacon of sorts, faint but unmistakable. It wasn't a distress signal. It wasn't a message of war or conquest. It was a call to the unknown, a beacon that came from the outermost reaches of the galaxy, from a place where no star had ever burned, where no light had ever reached. Jalen's heart raced. This wasn't just another discovery. This was the true frontier. "Set a course," she ordered, her voice resolute. "This signal, it's not just a message, it's a promise, and we're going to answer it." Part 13, The Unknown Edge. The journey toward the edge of the galaxy took them to a place where the fabric of space itself seemed to bend. The stars around them were distant, their light flickering in strange patterns, as though they too were waiting for something. The further they traveled, the more the laws of physics seemed to unravel. This is beyond anything we've ever encountered." Luma's voice was tinged with awe. "The fabric of space-time is not just shifting here, it is reforming." As they approached the source of the signal, the ship passed through a region where even the stars appeared to be receding, as if the void itself were swallowing them. And then, before them, there appeared an object unlike any they had ever seen. It was not a ship, not a station, not even a structure. It was a portal, a gateway, not to another place, but to another reality. The object was made of swirling energy, pulsing with a power that felt alive, a living gateway between worlds. Jalen felt the air in the bridge grow heavy, as though the very presence of the portal demanded something from them. The crew could only watch in stunned silence as the portal's energy resonated. And then, a voice, deep and ancient, echoed within their minds. "You have arrived at the threshold. The journey you have undertaken has not only awakened the galaxy, but you have opened the path to the beyond." The words were not threatening, but they carried a gravity that was almost overwhelming. The beyond, it was a place that had always existed, but was now accessible for the first time. No one knew what lay beyond this gateway. No one had ever dared to cross it. "We've come this far," Jalen said softly, the weight of the decision pressing upon her. "We can't stop now. This is what we've been searching for." The crew exchanged looks. They had faced impossible odds, broken through barriers that had once seemed insurmountable, and now, they stood before the gateway to another reality. It was a chance to expand beyond the stars they had known, into a space where the very rules of existence might be rewritten. Without hesitation, Jalen made her decision. "Luma," she said, "take us through." The Resolve moved forward, crossing the threshold of the portal. As the ship passed through, reality itself seemed to tear and reweave. The crew felt as though they were being pulled apart and remade. their very molecules dancing with energy beyond comprehension. When the ship emerged on the other side, the stars were gone. There was no light, no familiar darkness, just an endless expanse of pure potential. The air crackled with energy. It was as if they had crossed into the very heart of existence itself. "What is this place?" one of the crew members asked, their voice trembling. "This is the beyond," Jalen said, her voice filled with wonder. "This is where the galaxy began, and where it will end. It is the source of all creation, and the beginning of everything." The crew stood in awe. They had crossed the threshold to a new chapter in the universe's story, one that had never been written until now. The crew of the Resolve had traveled farther than any civilization had ever dared. They had crossed into the heart of creation itself, and now, they would shape the future of everything. For within the beyond lay the answers to questions humanity had yet to ask, and the power to create worlds, stars, and realities of their own design. Would you like to explore the crew's journey into the beyond, or dive into the implications of humanity's new place in the grand fabric of existence?